A very good evening to you and welcome. You're watching Rupavahini News.
Hello, very good evening. I'm Nipini Samarasekara.
And I'm Asha Kamini. First, we take a look at today's headlines. People's representatives point out that the honour of holding an election in the north for national representation should go to the United People's Freedom Alliance. The Asian Development Bank predicts that Sri Lanka will achieve economic growth of 6.8% this year. Police decide to intensify rules and regulations related to the use of bicycles. An American woman who forcibly entered the White House in a motor vehicle has been shot dead. The death toll from the boat that capsized in Italian Sea increases to 300.
We take a look at those stories in detail now. 5 new ambassadors and 2 new high commissioners presented their credentials to President Mahinda Rajapaksa at the Presidential Secretariat this morning. The foreign dignitaries were escorted to the Presidential Secretariat in keeping with custom. They then presented their credentials to the President. Mr. Rashid bin Safia Sahid Safia Al Fahid presented his credentials as the new ambassador for Qatar in Sri Lanka. The new ambassador for Myanmar is Mr. Thein San. Mr. David Daly is the new ambassador for the European Union. Meanwhile, the new ambassador for France is Jean-Paul Monavadou. Mr. Mahmoud Hisham Mohamed Asran is the new ambassador for Egypt. The new High Commissioner for Zambia is Brigadier General Patrick Romedio Tembo. And the new High Commissioner for Lesotho is Botata Sikone. Deputy Minister Nirmal Pereira, Secretary to the President Lalith Veeratunga and Secretary to the Ministry of External Affairs Karunatilaka Amunigama also attended the function.
Meanwhile, people's representatives point out that the credit and honour for holding a democratic election in the north to elect members for the Provincial Council should go to the United People's Freedom Alliance. They expressed these views at a media conference held at the Sri Lanka Freedom Party headquarters in Colombo today. At the media conference, it was discussed in detail that the victories achieved in the UPFA in the North, Central and Northwestern Provincial Council elections. Several ministers expressed their views in this regard. The General Secretary of the United People's Freedom Alliance, Minister Susil Premajayant, said that out of the 58 members for the Central Provincial Council, the government has 40 members. Accordingly, the government has 2/3 majority in that province. In the Northwestern province, the government has 34 members who won the elections under the beetle leaf symbol. There are 2 members from the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress and they too took oaths together with UPFA members yesterday. Accordingly, the United People's Freedom Alliance and the affiliated parties have 36 members from the 52 members in that council, which is a 2/3 majority. The General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Minister Maithripala Sirisena, said that it was not the victory of the United People's Freedom Alliance in the north that the government wanted, but to establish democracy in the north. By establishing democracy in the north, the government has received the honour locally and internationally. It is the President that should get the credit and honour for establishing democracy in the north. Minister W.D.J. Ratna said that usually when a party is in power, it becomes unpopular among the people. However, the government of the president has its popularity increased by each and every election. It has been proved by all the elections held so far. Minister Andhra Priyadarshini Yapa also attended the media conference.
The Asian Development Bank predicts that Sri Lanka will achieve its 6.8% economic growth target this year. The Asian Development Output Supplement report released by the bank this week states that Sri Lankan economy has strengthened across many sectors. In the second quarter, Sri Lanka registered an economic growth of 6.8%, while in the first quarter it stood at only 6%. The Asian Development Bank predicts that the economic growth of Sri Lanka will increase to 7.2% by next year. Inflation has also reduced and is presently at 7%. The Asian Development Bank points out that inflation could reduce to 6.5% next year.
Meanwhile, police informed that in future, rules and regulations related to the use of bicycles will be strictly enforced. Police said that this decision was taken due to bicycle riders ignoring rules and regulations and to minimize accidents caused by bicycles. Despite the increase in the use of motor vehicles with modern technology, people still have close connections with bicycles. There is no difference, be it an urban area or village. The bicycles are used for travel as well as for employment purposes and to sell goods. People have a general understanding about the rules related to other vehicles. It remains a question whether people understand rules related to bicycles. Bicycle riders said that they ride since childhood, but they don't know the rules and regulations related to it. They only become aware of the rules when they are caught by police. Another rider said that it is better if some arrangements are made to hold briefings to enlighten cyclists about the rules and regulations they should follow. As per the laws existing in the country, there are certain essential items that should be in a bicycle for the protection of the rider. The main requirement is to have active brakes. At night, it is compulsory to have a light in front of the bicycle. The rear and pedals should have reflective plastics. The bell is also an essential requirement for a bicycle. On the rear mudguard, there should be a white collar portion for about 6 inches at the bottom of the mudguard. It is only those above 17 years of age who are permitted to ride a bicycle on the main road. Police state that there is a practical problem in this rule. People are unaware and lost about the license required to ride a bicycle. Bicycle riders said that they don't have license and they must take it. Another rider said although they should take licenses, they have not done it for a long time. During the last 10 years, nearly 3,000 people have died from accidents involving bicycles. Police informed that the bicycle rider has a great responsibility about road safety. Deputy Inspector General of the Police for Traffic, Amrasiri Senaratna, said that similar to the motor vehicles and the cyclists should also travel in the left lane. They should not dodge and go in between and through the vehicles. When there is a red light, they should stop there without proceeding. He also said that during travel in the night, they should wear a white collar dress and should travel on the left lane. They should give signals when they make turns into roads that have separate lanes. For cyclists, they should use such lanes without going in the main road. The DIG, meanwhile, said that due to gross violation of rules by cyclists, police will have to strictly enforce the rules and regulations related to cyclists. And with that, we take I beg your pardon. An investigation is meanwhile underway in the US after a police chase through the heart of the capital ended with a woman shot dead and a couple of officers wounded. Police and the FBI sealed off a condominium in Stamford in the US state of Connecticut today. Bomb squad vehicles raced to the scene. It's believed to be the home of a woman at the heart of a deadly police chase through downtown DC one day earlier. The woman, who has not been identified, rammed her car at security gates at the White House and police opened fire as she sped off towards Capitol Hill. She was shot dead and 2 officers were wounded. A 1-year-old child was taken unharmed from the car by police. Later, the FBI obtained a search warrant at the Stamford address in connection with the investigation.
The home of the woman at the heart of the deadly police chase through downtown DC one day earlier.
Meanwhile, the African members of the Commonwealth say that they act with understanding about Sri Lanka. Steps have been taken to enhance cooperation in several sectors with Botswana and Sierra Leone. Minister Professor Gio Pires said that the active participation of these countries is expected at the Commonwealth Heads of State Summit. Professor Gio Pires held discussions with the Foreign Minister of Sierra Leone, Samura Kumara, and the Foreign Minister of Botswana, Pandu Skelemon. The African ministers were enlightened about the international pressures being exerted on Sri Lanka following the defeat of Tiger terrorists. He has said that a minority of the international community is exerting pressure on Sri Lanka at the behest of pro-Tiger terrorist Tamil diaspora. Meanwhile, the minister has pointed out that despite this, Sri Lanka has been able to achieve rapid development in all sectors. The foreign ministers of Sierra Leone and Botswana have stated that there is no proper measure to gauge the progress of a country socially, economically and politically in a post-war period. Minister Professor Pires has also enlightened the African ministers about the arrangements being made for holding the Commonwealth Heads of State Summit in Sri Lanka.
Welcome back. You're watching Rupavahini News. The UPFA Central Province member Anuradha Jayaratne has vehemently rejected media reports that he staged a protest since he was not given a Chief Minister post for the Central Province. He has emphasized that he will never go against the decisions of the party. A function was held in Kandy yesterday to celebrate the victory of the United People's Freedom Alliance. Mr. Anuradha Jayaratne alleged that the media had misinterpreted this function as a function held to protest for not granting the Chief Minister post to him. United People's Freedom Alliance Central Province member Anuradha Jayaratne said that he will not object to any decision that will be taken by the President or senior members of the party. Their decisions will be honoured respectively. He said that they will act as members of the Provincial Council and will work towards the benefit of the people, earning their trust.
සහයෝගයේ ශක්තිය ලබා දීපු මහනුවර දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ ජනතාවට හොඳ වැඩ කොටසක් කරන්න උන් එක්ක මම හැමදාමත් ඉන්නවා කියන පණිවිඩය මෙතනදී ඉතාමත් ඕනකමින් ලබා.
Meanwhile, addressing a media conference today, the General Secretary of the United People's Freedom Alliance, Minister Susil Premajayant, said that Mr. Anuradha Jayaratne has not requested for any post in the Central Province. UPFA General Secretary Mr. Susil Premajayant also said that up to now the young members Anuradha Jayaratne or Johan Fernando have not requested for any post. They have not said anything about it. The minister said that they should respect them and for their decisions. The minister also said that they have never pressurized for the decisions being taken by the party.
Meanwhile, the agreement relating to the Sampur coal power plant in Trincomalee is to be signed next week. This is a project that will strengthen Indo-Lanka diplomatic relations. The power plant will add 500 megawatts of power to the national grid. The agreement will be signed by the Ceylon Electricity Board on behalf of Sri Lanka and the Indian National Thermal Power Corporation on behalf of India. This project is a positive result of the official visit to India made by President Mahinda Rajapaksa in the year 2005. The estimated cost of the project is $600 million. Construction of the project will begin within 1 year of signing the agreement, and the project will be implemented under the supervision of Minister Basil Rajapaksa. The project will generate electricity from the year 2017. 2 power generators of 250 megawatts each will be installed under the project, and the power generated by this will be connected to the national grid by transmitting it via high-voltage power lines through Habarana and Veyangoda. The administration of the Sampur coal power plant will be undertaken by the Trincomalee Electricity Company.
A national week of mosquito control has been announced from the 7th to the 13th of this month. The assistance of all ministries under the Dengue Task Force will be obtained for the programs of the Mosquito Control Week. The Ministry of Health pointed out that the advent of the northeast monsoon, there is a threat of a rapid increase in the density of dengue mosquitoes. It said that the people's attitude on mosquito control should be changed. The cleaning of the environment will be the main task of the Mosquito Control Week. People will also be widely enlightened. The assistance of the dengue control committees, health staff, police, the tri-forces and students will also be obtained for the mosquito control activities. Last year, 33,608 dengue patients were identified. So far this year, 24,757 dengue patients have been identified. Last year, 150 patients died due to dengue. Minister Maithripala Sirisena, addressing a media conference held today, said that 68 dengue patients have died so far this year. Minister Maithripala Sirisena also said that compared to last year, the death toll relating to dengue has reduced by about 50% up to September this year. He said that the Ministry of Health gives priority to save the lives of dengue patients. In respect of the spread of mosquitoes, not only the Ministry of Health but also other institutions give priority to prevent the spread of mosquitoes and thereby prevent the spread of dengue. He said that the cleaning activity should be carried out continuously and the Ministry of Health takes the responsibility of safeguarding the life of dengue patients. The Secretary to the Ministry of Health, Dr. Nihal Jayathilaka, the Director General of Health, Dr. Palitha Mahipala, the Director of National Drugs Authority, Dr. Hemantha Benaragama also participated at the media conference.
Meanwhile, the 35th commemoration of Professor Senaka Bibile was held at the BMICH today. It was Professor Senaka Bibile who established a pharmaceutical policy in Sri Lanka. Minister of Health Maithripala Sirisena offered floral tributes at the photograph of the late professor, and the family members of Professor Senaka Bibile were also present at this ceremony. Addressing the gathering, Minister Maithripala Sirisena said that the Professor Senaka Bibile pharmaceutical policy will be implemented regardless of whatever objections raised. Minister Maithripala Sirisena said that the government is following this action not for the benefit to be reaped today or tomorrow, but also for benefits to be reaped many years ahead. He said that formulating of a Parliament Act relating to the Senaka Bibile policy is in its final stages. Senior Minister Professor Tissa Vitarna, Deputy Minister of Health Lalit Desanayaka and several others attended the function. The United Front government of 1970 appointed a commission to formulate a drugs policy. Professor Senaka Bibile was a member of the commission and he was also the founder of the Pharmaceutical Corporation. He also functioned as the corporation's first chairman and took steps to break the pharmaceutical monopoly and to import pharmaceutical products by the State Pharmaceutical Corporation. In addition to this, the late professor also took steps to manufacture locally some drugs required by the country. Professor Senaka Bibile's pharmaceutical policy was commended by the World Health Organization, and in the year 1997, it was proposed to experiment with this policy in other countries as well. It was Professor Senaka Bibile who formulated the pharmaceutical policies for Malaysia, Afghanistan and Nepal. He passed away after being hit by a stroke when he was visiting Barbados with his wife in order to formulate the pharmaceutical policy for that country. It was Professor Senaka Bibile's dream to prepare a mechanism for patients to obtain their medical requirements at reasonable prices.
Meanwhile, the media spokesman of the Sri Lanka Army, Brigadier Ruwan Wanikasuriya, making a special statement to National Rupavahini, said that the army has completely destroyed the bunker used by the LTTE to launch attacks against the Sri Lanka Army.
An LTTE bunker used by the terrorists to launch operations against security forces was demolished in Udayapkattu, Puthugoripu West area. This bunker was demolished after making sure that the area is safe and free from all explosive remnants of war.
And with that, to take a short break, we return with foreign news up next. Thank you very much for joining. That ends the bulletin for tonight. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.
Good night.